But there are a lot of old stories about, say, the transformation process that marriage can bring two people through. One of them is the nature of what they call the divine feminine, the salvation of men through women, and also the stability and strength that a man can bring to a marriage. Corey is one tough dude. I mean, he's a very gentle guy too. He's come a long way. I can tell you some stories about him. Back when he was a bouncer, there was a legend of him that he was working at one of the casinos, and I guess somehow all the guards got in a big fight and they were pursuing this guy, and Corey was on the second floor and this guy was on the first floor. But Corey, running and tracking him like down below, ran alongside on the second floor, jumped off, swung on a tree branch, landed, and then tackled the guy in midair. This is actually a real story. There's a lot of stories about Corey like that. There's another time he got in a fight where he was, bouncing, of course. And it was like 7, I don't know what they were. I think they were Filipino guys, actually. And afterwards they tried saying he was racist for doing this, but Corey's also Filipino, so they couldn't do it. So Corey, there's these 7 guys, and they're beating up one guy, and then Corey goes in to break up the fight, and Corey's, getting the guy and making him safe. He turns around, and it's like, Big Trouble in Little Chinatown. It's like 7 dudes standing around him, ready to take him down. And so Corey just gets the little dude behind him and gets in his fighting stance. These dudes come at him one at a time, and Corey's just slamming them, and, throwing them, and so on. Corey's come a long way. But the point is that one of the stories I was going to tell was about this. It's a long story. It's an old folk tale about a prince who gets transformed into a serpent, and a woman, by being, say, patient and being willing to help him kind of scrub off the layers of what he'd become, turns him into a prince again. And I think Stephanie has brought that virtue to Corey. Corey could be a really tough dude, but he's also a very good-hearted and gentle dude. There have been a lot of times in my life, growing up with Corey, I've seen where he could have been, and I've seen where I could have been, and somehow he and I have both chosen the right path in life. And I think Stephanie can really stabilize him on that right path, and Corey's already chosen that path, I think. But I think this is one of the true natures of love in this world. So St. Augustine, in his Confessions, wrote about love as one of the lowest levels that we can experience the love of heaven. That this is God's love manifested in the world. And that through marriage we swear an oath to each other that we will never break that we will maintain that we will grow it. We will have families and become parents and grandparents and great-grandparents. And I think deep down this is something everyone longs for, that experience of love, which is something divine. And one thing I've learned being married for 10 years now is the nature of love is, I think that when we first feel it, they say that love is blind, that it's something we don't quite understand. And it can very easily be something that takes over us, that we become blind inside of, that we, say, can fall into a state of selfishness where we love that feeling. But over time, that initial, say, intensity wears out. And it's on us then to find unselfish love. And I think that is what makes a long-term relationship work. When you can put another person's interest before your own, when you can show love to another person and put their interest before yourself. And I think that's the real nature of what people need to obtain to really make a marriage work and last, is to want to make another person happy. Corey, I'm very happy for you, and Stephanie, I'm very happy for you. And welcome to the world of married men, Corey. Very happy. Thank you all.